Hello and welcome to Training for 2 Stones, where I try to improve my time for the 2 first Voidstones and at the same time try out some builds and see how they would feel in a league start scenario. This time I will be playing a poisonous concoction of Bouncing Assassin, since I never tried out that skill, but it always seemed really nice to look at. By the way, from this point on I will abbreviate Poisonous Concoction with just P-Conc, since that's just easier to pronounce. Because you can't reset your Atlas and quest progress, I played this build in the, at that point in time, still open private league from Fonks. I think it was called Restart Settlers or something like that. I already played in this league a bit when it was still fresh, but I stopped at around 40 Atlas points. So I just deleted everything except for some currencies so I could reset the Atlas tree later. Since P-Conc of Bouncing is a transfigured gem, we sadly have to play with something else until we get it. But since the normal version is also good, we will just play that until then. So we start with Cobra Lash until level 12 when we switch to normal P-Conc, and then I just continue the acts like normal. In Act 4 I found a Le Hoop of All, and spoiler, I used this ring until the end of the run, since the res on it were better than any other item or ring I found during my time playing this character. And from time to time I found a nice life flask that always gave me a nice boost in damage, since P-Conc scales off the amount of life your flask can recover. I ended the acts with a time of 4 hours and 51 minutes, which is a record for me, I think, at least on a fresh character without leveling gear. Sadly, I didn't get the transfigured version of P-Conc during leveling, so I had to run lab a bit more, but I decided to do that later. Before I ran my first map, I respec'd my Atlas tree, but unfortunately I didn't have enough currency and still had some points in Essence and Betrayal allocated at the end, so I just decided to ignore the mechanics until yellow maps. Then I finally jumped into maps, and unsurprisingly the damage is still nice, just as it was in the acts. So I leveled in white maps a bit, until I got lucky and got a 5 link to drop. At that point I decided that I finally wanted to play P-Conc of Bouncing, so I ran the third lap a bit. After the second try actually I already got it, and with that I went into yellow maps. And even though the gem was only level 12 and I didn't upgrade my flask for a while, the damage was surprisingly good. While progressing, I found a Vaal side area with increased EXP gain. I didn't know Vaal side areas could have that modifier, so after I got the new Atlas tree, I spec'd into getting more Vaal side areas because I wanted to see how common that modifier is. While writing this script, I just googled the weight of the mods for the Vaal side areas, something that I could have done during the run, and it turns out the mod was more common than others. Later I also got a Sacred Orb. This is 3 times as rare as a Divine Orb, I think. At least it was when they added it into the game. But it seems that the servers are on life support, so it was gone a minute later. Whatever, I don't need it anyway, but still, that was kind of comedic timing. Almost in red maps I got my first upgrade since the 5 link I dropped. And then it was time for red maps, and here I finally found another Vaal side area with experience, and I got around 35% of XP. So it's not bad, but also not good, I would say, since I still had to spec into the mechanic a bit. And with points I spec'd into that, I could have spec'd into Abyss and got more XP, I think. Shortly after that I got the invitations for the first 2 quest bosses and went in right away. A bit later in a T40 map, I also finally found a trial of ascendancy, so I could get my last lap. As I was progressing for the final 2 quest bosses, I was having a really hard time to sustain my higher tier maps, and then I remembered that Keurig is still an option. So I ran a T50 map from him and got 2 T16s to drop. That's really something I have to keep in mind for later runs. And shortly after that I also got the next 2 invitations, and in I went into the fights. As always, Ita wasn't a real problem, but Exarch's balls were too difficult to handle for me, so it took a few portals to defeat him. This run was 11 hours, 10 minutes and 9 seconds, which is definitely a new record for me, and the reason for that is just the skill I was using. Peaconk of Bouncing is really just a nice skill. It scales so easily with your life flasks, its single target is good because of its multiple hits and its chance to wither that you get from the quality. And the clears of course also great. This makes me think about League starting this for real in 3.26 when it comes out in 2027 or something. So I can just recommend it to anyone who wants to have a nice League start or just wants to level a new character. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you would leave a like or maybe even subscribe if you want. It would really help out a lot. See you for the next one. Bye.